Hi, this is Joanne Dennison, CMP, Certified Meeting Professional, here to give you education, information, tips to help you in the meeting and event world, and if you're on the path to the CMP exam, it'll help there too. So this is the second video in the series on the infamous break-even formulas. And this is the first step on how to approach and both do the formulas and understand the formulas. So both formulas have four parts, the same four parts to them. The first is the fixed cost, then there's the variable cost, then we have the number of attendees who are attending or that we need to attend, and the registration price either that we're charging or that we need to charge. It could also be the ticket price. So let's talk about what these all are so we're all on the same page before we go any further. So fixed cost. A fixed cost is something that you are going to have to pay whether there's one person or 1,000 people to attend. An example might be a keynote speaker, your production cost, your website for marketing, entertainment, anything that the price will not change, that the price is fixed no matter how many people are attending. The second one, the variable cost, is the next part. Every time another person attends, this is an additional charge to your budget. The most common one that we use as an example is food and beverage. So we will say it is $75 per person, meaning we have to add $75 onto our budget every time someone else is coming. It varies according to an individual coming or not coming. Then, as I said, the attendees and the registration. So how do you approach it? Now that you know it, how do you actually put it to work? So whether it be you're in the office or that you are approaching the CMP exam, basically this is what you're going to do. So you may have a list of line items on your budget, or you may have a list of items on the exam. And it possibly, sidebar on the exam, it could possibly say your total fixed costs are this, your total variable costs are this. And if so, fine, then you can proceed to the rest of the formula. But the reality is your budget's not going to say that when you're sitting in the office, and there's a good chance your question on the exam won't either. And not only that, but as they list items, they will not necessarily list all the fixed first and then all the variable. So you might read something like this. Entertainment is $5,000. Okay, that is a fixed cost. They are telling you it's $5,000 solid no matter what. Then it will say food and beverage, $75 per person. Okay, now you know that's a variable because any time it says per person, per registrant, per attendee, you know it's a variable cost. It's being added on every time a new person is coming to the event. Now, what you don't want to do is assume. That's one of the key things here. Just because in your experience something's always fallen under a variable or always fallen under a fixed, you cannot assume that. I've gone through with classes and classes of CMP candidates, and we've talked about this, and we've actually played a game where we've taken every category we could think of and come up with how could it be a variable and how could it be a fixed. And what we have come to the conclusion is really any category could be fixed or variable. So very important you look for that per person. An example of this is, say the people who are attending your event, as they walk in, get a portrait taken, an individual portrait, and you are being charged $20 per person. That becomes a variable cost because as every person comes, that additional $20 is added on. On the other hand, you may also have a line item that says photographer, $1,000. That means the photographer is probably covering the whole evening to record the event. So that is an example of how photography could be both a fixed or a variable cost. Again, you're looking for that per person to tell you that it's a variable cost. Then you get down to gifts. This says $100 per person, meaning it's a variable. AV, $5,000. It's a fixed cost. So what do you do with it there? So one of the key things is you have to add all the fixed costs and you have to add all the variables. This particular part is very much directed toward people getting ready for the exam, but it could pertain in your office too. Don't assume that you are so smart, so swift, and you can do this off the top of your head. Because sometimes what people will do is they'll go, oh, 5,000, 1,000, 5,000, okay, I got it. That's all my fixed cost. And just skip through the list and, find what they think the appropriate ones. Here's the thing though, especially on the exam, stress, just a bit of it, it could lead you to misread, skip something. You don't need it. You don't need it when you know the concept of the question and you make such a simple mistake. So what I advise people to do, and again, this could apply in your office or on the exam, is make a fixed column, make a variable column, and go down your line items. Entertainment, $5,000, fixed. Food and beverage, $75 per person. Because it says per person, it is a variable cost, as we just said. So we're going to put it over in this one and check it off. Individual photos, $20 per person. Check it off. Photographer, $1,000. I'm sure you get the idea. Now, on the exam, you can actually highlight or strike through the items in your question. So you would have an equivalent to the check mark. This will allow you to make sure you get everything in the list into a column, and if you do them one at a time and don't try to skip and do all of one category and then the other, it will make sure you have pulled all the information and you have appropriately put it in the right column. So then you can total it and get your total fixed and total variable cost. It's a methodical way of making sure you don't make a mistake, and whether you're doing your budget for your boss or you're doing your question on the exam, either way it's a good thing to get it right the first time. This is Joanne Dennison, CMP. Hope that helps.